now. He is chairman of the GOP and has become a regular here. I mean, I know maybe that's just since I've become a regular, you've become a regular.
Are you having a hard time getting guests? I mean, that's the only thing I can think, Richard, So.
Well, you were kind, especially on short notice, to join us this morning.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Appreciate your time, as always. I am intrigued by what is going on behind the scenes in D.C. right now, especially in the Senate, as Mitch McConnell stepping down, moving on. It appears as if he's trying to get a little business done and put his fingerprints on his successor before he leaves, as opposed to kind of allowing this new administration to handle things the way. What can you tell us about this this race for the new majority leader in the Senate?
Well, what I can tell you from the administration's point is I'm glad to see President Trump getting involved here. I mean, I think he learned from his first administration that so much that happens in the United States Senate affects whatever president is elected in his administration. So I'm glad to see him, speaking out and trying to get involved in this. Obviously, it's going to be up to those senators who elect their member to be the majority leader. We've got some great candidates. I think John Thune, John Cornyn, a number of others who've been mentioned, but Tim Scott. But I can't really. If I were to handicap the race right now, I think it would probably be John Thune's race to lose.
Well, and Rick Scott's name has emerged also as one that's significant there, very much aligned with President Trump. And, this election cycle featured something that we hadn't seen before. We saw some online people, and I want to use that term as respectfully as I can. It's just a growing part of the way we get our news and the way we get our information, and it was a very effective apparatus, whether you're talking about Charlie Kirk or some of the other guys who saw this news about Cornyn and Thune and immediately started pushing Rick Scott and tried to start this campaign to, hey, these are guys that opposed Donald Trump. Why are you putting them in this leadership position? And they exposed a list, allegedly, of how kind of a straw poll, how people were going to vote in this coming up. What do you make of this kind of new arm of the Republican Party that really has pushed Donald Trump and frankly was part of the reason that he won, with their ability to get new voters registered and really push the early voting?
Well, I think it's great for democracy, right? I mean, this is a new avenue by which the American public can speak through various representatives. We're not beholden to just 3 network television channels anymore. We're not beholden to just a few print media sources. Now we have those who are very articulate, who have the not only the ability but the capacity to get out there and speak via the internet, via social media channels. I think it allows the grassroots actually to have a voice. And I think that's what we have seen from President Trump over the last 8 years, and I hope the next 4 years is, the grassroots have been very silent over the years, and not because they wanted to be silent, but because they haven't had a voice. And now they have a voice with President Trump, and as you mentioned, now they have a voice in this alternative media categories like Charlie Kirk and others who are actually speaking what we're all thinking as just regular, ordinary citizens. So it's exciting.
Is there reason to be concerned if you're talking about Thune or Cornyn, who've been around for a long time and they're very much a part of the Washington congressional status quo, as opposed to a Rick Scott who very much is aligned with Donald Trump and some of the things that he wants to get done to be able to push that legislative agenda?
I think it goes back to our party and our principles. Let's look at our platform. Let's look what we as Republicans stand for. And I think if you look at those 3 men and if you measure them and their votes by what our platform and what we as Republicans believe, I think that's really the key in deciding who should be Senate Majority Leader.
Okay. Visiting with Mike Hurst. He's the chairman of the Republican Party here in the state of Mississippi. We talked with you on Election Day, I think it was, about the importance of, or maybe it was the day before, maybe it was last Monday.
It's all running together now.
Yeah, it is. It's like a lot has happened in the last 7-8 days about the importance of Roger Wicker and that Senate race and his likelihood of being the chair of the Armed Services Committee. Help us understand a little more, maybe in a little greater detail, what that means for the United States military, but also specifically for Mississippi?
Well, in Congress, we have basically two types of committees. We have authorizing committees and appropriations committees. The appropriations committees are pretty simple to understand. They dole out all the money that the federal government has to various projects, agencies, priorities of the administration or Congress. The authorizing committees are the ones who basically set the policy, set the direction of the country. And the Senate Armed Services Committee is an authorizing committee. It is the one that will determine where the military goes from here. And for a state like ours, a small state, 3 million people out of 330 million people in the United States, having the chairman of the Armed Services Committee who authorizes and sets the agenda and sets the policy for our military is going to be huge. Because we in Mississippi, we have a number of military bases, we have a number of military contractors, we have a number of jobs that are connected to this industry. And I think having Senator Wicker in charge of that committee is going to be great for Mississippi.
Yeah.
And not to mention our university systems. You see a lot of our universities here in Mississippi that are moving towards that area of military research and development. And again, that will also help us.
Yeah, I guess when you think about engineering programs,
absolutely.
And a lot of the things that are out there, a really big deal. Mike, if we pull it back to the state level, hard to believe, but 2 months from right now, we will be beginning a new session here in the state of Mississippi. There is a lot to tackle. I think the Congress here in Mississippi has got a lot of interesting things. When you deal with the House side and the Senate side here, and they're not always seeing things eye to eye. What are the issues, maybe one or two, that you're really looking toward for this session here in Mississippi?
Well, I think one you keep hearing leaders in our state talk about is tax reform, and I think you'll see more done on the tax side. Frankly, we as Republicans, we have a supermajority in the House, we have a supermajority in the Senate, we have all 8 statewide elected officials, and I think you'll see more done in this administration, in this legislative session coming up, to give the Mississippian citizen more of its money back. We as Republicans think that the citizen itself should be the one spending this money. Not to say that government does not have a role to play. Obviously, they do. Yeah. But we believe that the American citizen and the Mississippi citizen can spend their money better than the state government can.
Yeah. I've tried to paint you into this corner before. I don't think you're going to go down this road as how this plays out or which side wins out, whether it's the governor or the lieutenant governor, and where the House falls into all of this. It's a fascinating conversation. We get this text on the C-Spire text line. I'm tired of hearing the immigration system is broken. It is not. The law is just not being followed. Follow the law, and the problem will fix itself. Do you agree with that, or do you think it is a broken system?
I definitely agree with that. When I was United States Attorney, even going back 16 years when I was an assistant United States Attorney, just a line federal prosecutor, we actually prosecuted immigration crimes. I think it was back in 2008. I led one of the, if not the largest immigration raids in our nation's history down in South Mississippi. I think it was close to 600 illegal aliens we arrested in one morning shift at a company. In 2019, fast forward a number of years, as U.S. Attorney, I led what was then the largest immigration raid in our nation's history at multiple plants throughout central Mississippi, where we arrested almost 680 illegal aliens. So, yeah, it's a huge issue, but it's something that we already have on the books that we can enforce. And what we have seen in the last 3.5 years is, your listeners know, there has been no enforcement. There has been no border that has been secured. And I'm really encouraged. I saw this morning that President Trump has already said that Tom Homan, who is the acting ICE director in his administration, is going to be our new border czar. That means he's going to be in charge of, helping find the illegal aliens in our country, estimated to be close to 20 million, which is just hard to even fathom, but trying to find those individuals and deport them back to their country of origin. I think that's good for America. And frankly, I think it's good for those who came to our country legally, because we're really shortchanging them, who follow the law, who did everything we asked of them, who raised their right hand, were naturalized as citizens. And then to have 20 million come across the border because of this last administration is just completely unfair and against everything that we as Americans believe.
Last thing, and I'm curious from your role as a U.S. attorney, the citizenship process, should that be streamlined once it is determined that, hey, this person is on track? Should there be a streamlined process for allowing that person to become a citizen?
I think the process works fine right now as it is. I mean, we require a lot of those who come to our country, but we should require a lot of those who come to our country. And so I think if you ask someone who has been naturalized, yes, it's tough, it's arduous, it's not an easy process, but at the same time, we as a country, I think we should require that of someone who wants to come to our country.
Mike Hurst, chairman of the GOP here in Mississippi, always kind with his time. Thanks so much for stopping by this morning.
Thanks, Richard. Great to see you, buddy.
We'll catch up soon. Mike Hurst joining us this morning on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.